Right, so cool, we got an interesting tier list today. Tier lists are always fun to do. People love seeing tier lists, and I have to say today we are presenting a top 10 list of the units that require the most skill. It's going to be quite subjective. I know people have their own opinions, but hopefully we can make a decent tier list in this video. There's not much more to say. Hopefully you guys just enjoy the video. Let's get into this straight away. Right, so cool, what I've done is put all the units that would most likely make a top 10 here, and it's these units in their prime. So you have to remember when they came out, when they released them, what they were doing. If you're new to the game, you're gonna have to trust in most cases. I'm gonna do my tier list first, then we're gonna have chat do their tier list second. So there's gonna be two halves to this video, or maybe just two sides to it rather. So number one on this list, we have to go UI sign. I feel like UI sign is the ballpark definition of skill. If you can't use his dodge mechanic, you're gonna just fumble. It does give you like 2 chances of safety, but for the most part, knowing when you need to stand still and fake out your opponent is really just a full skill game. He's super glass, even in his prime. Yellows take him out super easily. He was getting boomed by Champa, and even if you want to add on his Zenkai, he's still very weak to yellows, to the likes of like Kid Buu. So he's number one for skill purposes. He does do damage offensively, but on the defensive end, you really need to be careful of when you're getting hit, when you're not getting hit, when you need to dodge, when you're going to vanish. Explosive green does give him a little safety ballpark, but for the most part, he is quite easy to take down because he's purple and yellows do a lot of damage to him. And at the time, like there's Gammons right now, there's Kid Buu. Those two I'd say are the biggest yellows that can actually do offensive damage. Gold Tanks is in the game, the Golden Freezer, just putting out some just to, you know, even out the playing field. So yeah, we've got UI sign because of his Ultra Instinct feature at number 1, full skill. Number 2 on this list, it might be a little biased, but I think I'm gonna put Gogeta Blue up second, just because on his release, people really pushed towards the Broly draw speed factor, whereas his green card is literally the epitome of winning. But to land it, depending on who you're playing, it requires a bunch of skill. Some people are bots, so it's easy to land it on them, but other people, you really need to calculate when you're going to press that green card, and that green card will win you the game. It's the definition of being rewarded for being better. If you're better than your opponent and you can land that green card, you're going to win the game. That's why lots of people like seeing Gogetas before the Ultra, the Mudadana. Before the Ultra, man, he's the OG, but he's my number 2 for sure. Now number 3, I'm gonna put Kid Buu up. I don't know if people like this one, but I feel like the timing you need with your green cards, and like so you can fake out your opponent, you do spawn green cards really quick, but he's still able to really manipulate the playing field, and that's down to you knowing when to use it. Of course, you can just press a green card straight away when you vanish, but then that's also kind of predictable, so you might need to fake out your opponent and delay them, and not at all times will it fill your gauge to 100%. It doesn't fill your gauge to 100%. So that's something to point out. Not a lot of people use this guy, but if you're very skillful, you can get around your opponents and just toy with them at a disgusting rate. That's why he's my number 3. I think that's a very good reason, but at the same time, I feel like he should deserve somewhere in the top 10. Maybe not top 3, but top 10 is a good placement for him in my opinion. So number 4, I brought up a new contender. Where is he? I lost him. We're taking up Kaioken, right? Ultra Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken Goku. I feel like outside of the fact that he can lock your strikes, I feel like the strikes really breastfeeds him. But outside of that, it's pure skill on him. Like pure skill. The timing you need to charge your gauge and actually protect yourself. So you might want to fill it, but not all the way. And then as soon as you need to get your vanish back, you then fill it. At that point, you draw extra cards, you get more damage buffs. You gotta time your main ability to get the cover null. There's so many things that are in his kit that really just rely on you being the most optimal player you can be. And I feel like that should obviously put him somewhere in this list. But I'm very like reluctant on keeping him on this list because of the fact that he can lock your strikes. But besides from that, I feel like he's 100% skill based. The strike lock, you could also argue it is skill based because you have to time when you're going to switch in to really take advantage of it. So I think putting him on number 4 is pretty safe. Now number 5, I've got this Super Saiyan Goku for the exact same reasons. Even though people, he's kind of faded out even though he's super new, right? I feel like you really have to work your way up doing the combos and filling your gauge at right time so you can actually lock someone in with your ultimate. It's more so really working yourself over him just being an autopilot unit. His combos are super long, right? But even those, you have to work for them. It's not just given to you on a plate. For that reason, he's severely underrated, to be honest, but maybe it's just a teams factor, but he's still super good in my opinion, so he can easily make a top 10 list for me. I'm going to put him number 5. That might be a bit too high and I might move him down later, but I think he's fine up there. I'm going to put SSBE up next at number 6, right? The reason I'm going to put SSBE up at number 6, unlike a lot of the units nowadays, SSBE doesn't get cover null. So he has to do all the same building up, and the way he builds up is literally by doing cards, ideally without sidestepping. He gets key from doing that and he ramps up by getting damage and whatnot, but he doesn't have the consistent cover null that a lot of units that would get nowadays. So I think for that reason, he should obviously be in top 10. When he Zenkai'd as well, he was very much slept on, but he can do a crazy amount of damage if you really work for the build up. And then because of that, he's obviously going to do a lot of damage, but it takes a lot of slaving. So a lot of people don't want to opt in and use him because he's not a beast off rip. Ironic, that beast is not going to make this list. But I feel like those reasons alone should easily keep him in this list. Maybe not this high or even higher, to be honest. I think it's super subjective. It's kind of hard to make this list now that I'm really thinking about it. But yeah, number 6 I think is good for SSBE. Right, so I think a lot of people might disagree with this year, but if we look at the past, I think he should make the top 10. I didn't have him in the recommended, but I thought about it very severely, and we're gonna bring up Forku, right? So when this guy released, Toshi announced him as a beast that can one-shot anybody in the game. But when he released, maybe he was one-shotting people if you got him high stars, but it took so much work. So much work. It was unreal how much work it takes. Now that he's Zenkai'd, he's got a bit of a safety cushion, of course, but on his initial release, it took so much work to make him good. On his Zenkai, he is much easier to use. He gets the cover null when one person dies. He has longer combos. He heals. He also has this extra save, I believe. But if you really want to 1v3 with him, you have to utilize the green cards at the right time. You have to get them with the blue card that could be good. The main ability timing can one-shot people. I feel like 100% Forku. In general, GT requires skill, but Forku for sure, if you really want to make him the star of your team, has to make top 10. He might even go above SSBE if I'm being super honest. He has that capability to 1v3, but you have to work for it. I think I'm going to do that. I'm actually going to move that guy up to 6. Forku deserves that, man. Forku is super solid. Now we've got 3 more spaces. I think the next one I'm going to put up is LF Broly. And LF Broly is the definition of mastering drop combos. He's the equivalent of maybe Rose in the past. The difference is now Rose obviously has 3 ultimates. I'm talking about Ultra Rose. If you drop combo and the enemy switches, anything you can do to get draw speed will benefit this guy. In the same way Rose, lots of people that use him, they drop combo because every time a new unit switches in, he's going to get draw speed. Or he faces in with another new unit. Broly requires hella skill back in the day. It felt like he was super easy to use, but as time obviously progressed, this guy has gotten shadow banned by the whole player base. Nobody wants to use him. He's gotten plat. I don't think he has a Zenkai. Does he have a Zenkai? I think he has a Zenkai. Let me check. No, he doesn't have a Zenkai yet. Okay, that's good. But he has a plat, and still that did nothing for him. Even if you build him up, he is not cooking. He's not a unit you want to bring out. It's literally done nothing for him. So this guy, if you got skill, you can use him. Other than that, no, he's not doing anything for you. Let's be for real. The average player cannot make this guy cook. You have to be someone of optimal power to really put this guy in PvP. Now, another one I just thought about, right? I'm gonna put, where are they? Here they are. Boo Bros number 9. Now, I thought about it first, right? And I was thinking they might not make top 10, right? But then I really processed it. Boo Bros, specifically Vegeta's side. Oh my god, Vegeta doesn't allow you to do anything. Vegeta is like a very disastrous unit, right? He's just tanky, and even then, not so much. It depends really. If you have them high stars in a good team, for sure. So you really have to work to survive when you're using Vegeta. Goku doesn't do crazy damage as well. He can do good damage. So when you're on the Goku side, you're really just trying to push towards getting your Kamehameha off after you get the prep time done with Vegeta. It's really just about switching, and that's hard to pull off. Very skilled players can do it consistently. Not everybody's going to be able to capitalize on this unit, especially on release. They were super like, after the first week anyway, they were super just you know, but the guys that are Vegeta clan mains or like the Buu Saga a lot really capitalize on this unit, so I'm gonna put them up here at number 9. They're not especially good, and just being a bad unit or not especially a good unit won't put you on this list, but I generally think Buu Bro, specifically Vegeta side, deserves a space on this list. Now the last one I'm gonna put on this list, might hate me for it, but I think I'm gonna put Broly on the list. Broly did not get love on release, except from the 5 Broly fans, Varabara, that's it. But I feel like elite players made Broly look like crack. You would not be able to get his health down, and if you time, imagine you're using him, you time when he would be able to fill his gauge, it can inconvenience anybody on the battlefield. Like, it's so inconvenient. Do you see how Jiren in today's age is super annoying? It's exactly what Broly is in the hands of an optimal player. He doesn't do much besides from cover change and fill his gauge and inconvenience you, but that is enough if you can time it correctly to require skill. Most players will just think, oh, let me just stand there and let Broly take the hits, but a skilled player will really just kind of get almost filled and switch him back in when you are in a good position, or when the enemy thinks they're in a good position rather, and you can just stop their combo just like that. The equivalent of Broly is like having a consistent sort of Hope Trunks gauge fill, which is why it's so elite. It's just so elite. But yeah, I think I'm good with this top 10 in requiring skill. I think it's a pretty solid list. Maybe not perfect. A lot of people are going to have subjective taste. But we got UI Sign, Gogeta Blue, Kid Buu, Kaioken, Super Saiyan Goku, 4Q, SSBE, Broly, Buu Bros, and then Broly again. Now to end my tier list, I think I'm gonna just mention why some people didn't make the list. So I feel like Evo Ken, you don't have to work that hard. I think once you fill their gauge the first time, you're good, really and truly. So that's why they didn't make the list. I think Kid Buu's protected with his endurance. He has the explosive green as well, which is just too much breastfeedings for me to really say he's a top 10 require skill unit. The Gammas, you could put them up here for a similar reason as Buu Bros, but you can switch out with them, which makes you in a safe position. And I feel like they're just more meta relevant because of the teams, and they draw better cards in general. They do better damage, so yeah, for sure. Tag 4s covered by explosive green. Vegeta has cover no if there's 3 players alive on the enemy team. Vanish recovery, consistent amounts of it. You could say a lot of that has to argue skill, but I feel like they're also protected if you get rushed or ultimate, you can pretty much just switch them out. So they're like pretty much protected. You don't have to work as hard in comparison to other units in the game. Majin Vegeta could make the list. I just feel like he's not that great in himself for you to really go the extra mile, but you could really work to make him really good. I wouldn't mind having Majin Vegeta in the list. CMZ, same reason as Majin Vegeta, to be honest, if I'm being so real. Full power Frieza kind of carried, you can just rush and take people out because of his endurance nullification. Sort of Hope Trunks gauge kind of carries him, but it's really and truly he's a safety protection type of unit. He's not really the unit that you really need, and in his prime he was already so good to the point where you couldn't break him down that he doesn't really deserve top 10. Path Q could make it. I wouldn't mind putting him in there. Piccolo could make it. Cell might make it for some people. Bardock doesn't even do anything, so there's no reason to put him up there. And Future Gohan is really just a safety net. Anybody else that I might mention, revival units, all revival units have not made the list. There's no revival unit in my list, and that's because the revival unit just keeps people alive. So I think that's a big enough reason to not have any revival unit. Then outside of that, MUI is really just doing damage for free when you just stand still. So that's also why he hasn't made it. And I think everybody else is just not high skilled enough to really place them in the top 10. And that's pretty much it. Right, so cool. This is the finalized list, I guess. I can't really explain what was going on here, but I could argue for the same reasons I had these two, 1 and 2. The rest, I don't know. This is what the chat made. And Kaioken makes sense. Like most of the units I don't mind, except like maybe Future Gohan. I think personally Future Gohan being on the list that was crazy. Tag 4's on the list is kind of crazy in my opinion as well. But the rest is not bad. It's not bad. Maybe the order you might want to change, but this is a lot harder of a list to make than it appears. So not too heavy on the chat for this list, but this is what the chat came up with. So we got UI Sign, Gogeta Blue, Kaioken, Broly, Forku, SSBE, Cell, Boo Bros, Tag Fours, and then Future Gohan. But yeah, man, hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. If you haven't already, make sure to press that subscribe button, man. We're on this grind to 100,000 subscribers. I appreciate you guys for watching the video. My name is Zakashi, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one, man.